right, today we're gonna make a little ladybug. So here we have just plain white fondant. Just gonna use a butter knife to cut a piece of white off. And I'll start by rolling it into a ball in the size of a ladybug that I want, more or less. And that's pretty big. No, that's good, that's good. That's about good. So it's about an 1.5 inch ball. That's the size of a marshmallow. Okay, so roll. So this is gonna be red, and I'm also gonna need black for the head, the dots, and a little bit in the eyes. So, let's see, I'm gonna need white too for the eyes. So I'll just save that piece for the eyes, just a little bit of white. And then, let's see, we're gonna need, like I said, the black. So if this is our body, you want the head, that's too big. So I just kind of measure it out, just roughly. So head here, boom, on the body, about that size. So head's gonna be black, body's gonna be red, and then I saved a little white for the eyes. Okay. Right. I usually just rub a little bit of Crisco on my hands to keep them oily. It prevents the fondant from cracking and getting really dry. So here's the body, the 1.5 inch ball that we just cut out. I'm gonna dye it red. So if you want, you can mix red and orange. I'm just gonna do red here. So I just spread my fondant out on my hand, and I put about 4 or 5 big drops. Gel-based color, like so. And I fold this boy in half, like a taco, and then keep folding. Gets a little bit messy sometimes. If you can do it right, you can just kind of work it in. Sometimes if you don't like the color, you can add more to make it darker as well. Pretty easy to work with though. So this to me looks like it needs more color. And you see how it's sticking to my fingers? That's when you know you need a little bit more Crisco also. Prevents the stick and the crack. So I just put a little bit on my fingertips and rub it on in. Don't put too much though, because it can make the fondant kind of a wet feel. So as you can see, that's not red enough. So let's add a few more drops. Boom, right there. Okay, I twist it in so that it doesn't make a big mess all over my hands. Just twist, fold, pull, get that nice and dyed up. And there is a big mess on my hands that I was trying to avoid. It's all good. All right, looking more red, ladybug red. Make sure that the food coloring is not water-based, it should be gel-based. That one is gel-based, but it's still making this kind of sticky. Okay, get a little bit more Crisco. Okay, here we go. All right, we'll call that good. So what I'm gonna do with this is I am going to roll it into a ball. Not a perfect circle, more like an oval. Kind of like an egg shape. Just think kind of what a ladybug looks like. They're not perfect. And oh, right there. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm just gonna keep it down on the mat. Make sure your mat's got a little bit of oil too so it doesn't stick to the mat. Okay, so there's our body right here. Now I need black. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take our head that we had cut out, and we're gonna dye that black. This is gel-based dye again. Just this one comes in a little tub. So you gotta dip it. I just dip a nice little drop on the tip, and then you just start pulling it. It's gonna get messy, but I'll wash my hands after this one. Okay. Pull, pull, pull. Good song. All right. And again, if you need to add more black, if you don't feel like it's black enough, you can add more black. And actually, this is gonna be, yeah, there should be enough for the head, the dots, and there's gonna be a line down the center of the back. I'm gonna put a little bit more black on this. Just make it a tad darker. Okay. All right. Okay. Almost. It's almost all mixed up. All right. Okay. Now I'm gonna take this. This is the head, and I'm gonna pull just a little piece of that off because I'm gonna need it for the dots and the line down its back. Ooh, and also the eyes. So a tiny bit more. Okay, so I still have enough for the head and for the dots. Put it right there. Let's see if we can see that. What we got going on here. Okay. So again, here's our little body here. Head doesn't have to be perfect, but don't make a ball and just stick it. So here's your ball, and I'll just kind of like flatten it a little bit. Almost like a half circle. Yeah. I don't know. About like, you can see that. Kind of like that. And I'll pick up my body here and just kind of look at it and see if that looks about right. Looks good to me. Now, in order to make it stick, for the dots, we'll just need water. For the head to stick to the body, if I just added water, it would likely fall off. So what I do is I break the end of a toothpick. So now I've got about 1 inch of toothpick here. Here's my body. I'm going to stick my toothpick directly into the body. So I've got, see if you can see, toothpick sticking out. Okay. And that toothpick is gonna hold our head on. But we also need water. And I'm gonna put water all around the toothpick. The water acts as glue for our fondant. Don't put too much water. It'll take forever to dry. So I just use a toothpick and dab just a little bit. And then boom. So you can see that. Put your little ladybug head on. So it should look something like this. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it back down. Here we go. Okay, so here's our ladybug. Now I know that the ladybug is going to need a stripe right down the center of the back and some spots. So I'm gonna start with, here's our black, and I'm just gonna pinch a tiny bit off. Maybe like, I don't know how big that is, about that much. And I'm just gonna roll this out on my hand. This is gonna be the stripe down the center of the back. So just keep rolling until it's long enough to cover our ladybug's back. And I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it here. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. I did get lucky. So there's a stripe. Now you don't want it to look just like a roll on the back, so I'm gonna use my fingers and just flatten it. And you can do the line as thick or as thin as you want. So I just use my finger, flatten that. And if it's just not sticking, for some reason right now it's sticking pretty good, you can put a tiny bit of water underneath that stripe to help it stick. Mine's sticking pretty good. So there's our back. Okay, and now, make sure it's even. Now we get to do spots. It's a little bit crooked. You can kind of wiggle it so it's centered. Doesn't have to be perfect. So it should look like that right now. All right, place it back down and take your black and let's see, 1, 2, 3, I'll maybe do like 7 spots on it. Do it however many you want. Take this and all you're gonna do is pinch tiny little ball of black, okay? And just roll about 7 or 8 or however many you want. So I'm gonna put them right here. There's 1, 2, give it some character. You could put different size spots. There's 3, 4. These are gonna go on this side. 6, 7. Let's do, I don't know, let's do 8. Okay, 8. And I still have a little bit of black left, which is perfect because we're gonna need it for the center of the eyes. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and hold my ladybug. So it doesn't matter where you place the spots, but you are gonna need to put a tiny drop of water underneath the little balls that we just rolled. So I just use my toothpick, and in here I have water, and I'm just gonna dip my toothpick into the water, and I'm just barely touching wherever I want the dots. I'm just putting a little bit of water. You don't want a whole lot, otherwise you're gonna make a mess, and sometimes that black will bleed onto the red. So like the tiniest little droplet. And again, it acts as glue. So here's one of our little balls. Place it on a water droplet, and then you're gonna don't drop it, you're gonna push it down. So I've got it on the droplet, and with my finger, I'm gonna press it down so it's flat. Okay, and then just keep doing that to the rest of them. And again, wherever you feel like putting the spots. I can't even see where I put that 4th one, maybe down there somewhere. And you can flatten it, I guess, in your hand before you put it on too. That might be easier. So like I just flattened that on my finger, and now I'm just gonna press it on. Okay. So there's some spots right there, and then do it to the other side. And I actually think it is easier to flatten it in your hand first. Sometimes you just learn as you go. So again, here's my little ball. I'm just gonna flatten that in my hand. See, made a nice little circle there. Boom. Push it on its back, that's a big one. Okay, this guy has big old fat spots. And one more. I'm gonna make this one smaller. Just cut one in half. Okay, boom, make this one smaller. Just put it on this side. All right, here we go. So you should have something that looks like this, okay? Now, we're gonna do the eyes. Let's put your little ladybug down. I'm gonna wash my hands because I have black on them. And if you wash your hands in the middle of this, just be sure to dry them off really, really, really good, because you don't want water getting on the fondant. All right. Okay. Try clean fingers. Okay, so now we're gonna grab that white for our eyes. Here's our ladybug, and we're gonna need 2 white dots right in the front for eyes. So again, they can be whatever size you want. Sometimes the bigger the better, you know. Just gives them some more character, makes the bug or animal look a little bit more fun. Just make sure that your balls are even. Those look pretty good right there. So roll a nice little ball in your hand. And another, this one's a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna add more. I could just feel it, it's a tad bit smaller. All right, now for the eyes, again, just like we put the dots on, we're gonna need a tiny bit of water. And I'm not gonna leave them as perfect little balls because they'll kind of roll right off. So I'm gonna flatten them just a little bit, not a lot. And in my hand, I can tell if they're the same size. Something like that. Yeah, about like that. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up my ladybug. Oops. Just be kind of gentle with him. He's still wet. Okay, and for the eyes, again, you're just gonna kind of say it looks good right there. I kind of poke a little hole too. Poke a little hole, put a little bit of water. So I have water on the tip of the toothpick. Okay. All right, so they're wet. And whoa, these are a lot bigger than I thought. It's okay. It's gonna be funny. Okay, did some really big eyes there, but all right. Okay, see little white circles there. Then we need black, so go ahead and grab the leftover black that we had. And now these circles are gonna be a lot smaller than the white ones. They're gonna be like teeny size. And again, roll 2 in your hand, make sure they're even. So I got 2 little circles, and then I'm gonna flatten them and make sure they're exactly what I want. And they're gonna go right on top of those white circles that we just put on for eyes. But again, we gotta wet our toothpick. And I'm just putting water, just a little bit right in the middle of the eyes. Okay, now I'm gonna carefully can you see the little black? Put my little black circles on. Boom, right there. And I'm just gonna lightly push them so that I know they're gonna stick, not fall off. Okay, and then, so make sure they're even too. Sometimes they come out a little cross-eyed. Okay, last piece, I like to add just a little tiny white dot on the corners, like the outer corners of the black part of the eye. It just really makes the bug or the animal just kind of come alive. So this little white speck is gonna be really tiny, like smaller than that. So here I have like the smallest little piece you could see, and I'm gonna cut that in half to make it a bit smaller. And these don't have to be the same size. roughly. It's just gonna give them a little pop. Okay, you probably can't see that, maybe, yeah. Flatten them a little bit so it doesn't roll right off. All right, pick up my little guy here, get my toothpick with water on it, and I'm just gonna put a little drop on the outer part of the eye. And it takes practice. So here's my little white dot. Boom, put it right there. And another one. Push. Yay! There's our ladybug friend. Okay. All right, and that's your basic ladybug. And the fondant brand that I use, I believe it's called Wilton, and you can buy it at Walmart, and I just buy it in big slabs, and then I buy all my dyes at either Hobby Lobby or Walmart, but make sure they're gel based, not water based, not regular food coloring. They're gel based dyes. You'll see them, yeah, like that. They look like that. There's a little ladybug. Have fun with it.